everyone, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. I am Justin, the girl next door.
I'm Ryuji Sakamoto of Persona 5 fame. Nico. That sounded weird, but you get what I mean.
I am Dan, the survivor.
Think smarter, not harder, folks.
And we are here today to talk about #Alive. And it is the newest zombie, big zombie movie to come out of South Korea. So this movie was directed by Il Cho, and it's starring Yoo In as Junwoo. We have Park Shin-hye as Yoo-bin, and we've got Lee Hyun-wook as Lee Sang-chul. So I apologize in advance for butchering all of these names, as we will continue to do throughout our plot synopsis. And right as well, before we start this plot synopsis, and just in general for anyone who wants to watch this movie, we are going to insert a quick trigger warning for suicide. If those themes or images depicting that make you feel uncomfortable, you may want to skip this, because we will be discussing at least one scene in particular, and perhaps one or two more times throughout. So that's for both this podcast and if you plan on watching the movie. So we open this movie with Junwoo, who is basically a pro gamer. He's in the house. So his parents and sister, they end up going out. There's no food in the house, so they leave him some money and they ask him to get groceries. Instead of doing that, he pulls what we in the industry call a pro gamer move. And instead of getting groceries, he starts playing games online with his friends. So during his gaming session, his friends tell him to check out the TV. And he actually sees on the TV that, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a literal fucking zombie outbreak.
Yep.
That's just going down.
Yep.
So he goes out onto his balcony, and because he lives in an apartment and he's on the 5th or 6th floor or something like that. And standing on his balcony looking out, he actually witnesses the destruction firsthand. He sees zombies chasing down people, a zombie daughter biting her mother. There's just a lot of commotion. He also hears some commotion right outside his door in his apartment. So he opens the door just to check and see, and his neighbor flies in. At first he's human, but he eventually turns into a zombie. So Junwoo just kind of, fights him out, and he locks him outside and barricades himself in his apartment. So, the movie gets right to it. But what happens after that, Nico?
So some time passes and Junwoo starts to lose his sanity big time. He slowly begins to be cut off from the outside world because, at this point there's no more internet or cell signal. He's drinking, and he, even in a particularly sad scene, hallucinates his family coming back. Eventually, his cell signal is temporarily restored through some shenanigans, and he hears his family dying over voicemail as the first thing back. Man. Junwoo starts making a series of videos then about his situation, and he also uses the hashtag #IMustSurvive.
So Dan, that's a pretty dark turn of pace. So what happens afterwards?
Yeah, afterwards it kind of keeps getting a little bit darker and darker. His food and water are dwindling, and his morale just keeps going down and down and down. So he keeps watching the news, and it seems like he's even more and more hopeless, and to the point where he actually decides to kill himself. And he hangs up a noose, he puts on his video camera, and he says, "Hello. Well, goodbye." And then he gets up on the noose and starts to hang himself. And as he's sort of choking, there's this red laser that kind of points at him, and he realizes that there's somebody else alive out there. He was able to save himself, get off the noose and everything. I think he tears down the fan or whatever it's being hung from. And the laser kind of points to a couple words on posters and stuff around his house, and it says no, and he decides to not kill himself. And he finds out that there's a lady who's living across the street from him, or across the parking lot kind of area. And they decide to meet, quote unquote, meet at 7 a.m. So they kind of get on their respective balconies and kind of look at each other and signal to each other. So he pulls a classic pro gamer move and sleeps past his appointment. Well, she's still waiting for him, so, not too bad. But they keep deciding to meet at 7 a.m. kind of every morning. And he learns her name, which is Kim Yoo-bin. And later that night, Junwoo goes, and he kind of is running out of food. So he does a little raid on his neighbor's house, and he ends up getting some Nutella, a little bit of food, and some walkie-talkies. So the next morning, while they're having their little 7 a.m. get together, he kind of sends her some food. He sends a drone across the parking lot to her apartment, and they kind of tie like a string across so they can like zip line food and walkie talkies and stuff to each other. So now they have a way to communicate with their walkie talkies.
The movie got kind of dark there for a second, but maybe things are looking up for our pair. What happens next?
I would say so. Eventually, Yubin devises a plan, and she notices that there's no zombies on the 8th floor of Junu's apartment complex. She then, in a frankly really fucking badass scene, rappels down the side of her building, just fucking apropos of nothing, dodges all of the zombies in, like, some shit you haven't seen since Prince of Persia back on the PS2. And with Junu's assistance, eventually makes it to his building. They eventually get to the 8th floor, but unfortunately, there are some zombies there. Luckily, the two are rescued by a mysterious man who tells them that rescue squads are, in fact, coming. Unfortunately for them, however, the dude then drugs them and attempts to feed Yubin to his wife, who is a zombie.
So at that point in time, Juno, he helps Yubin. He kind of distracts the guy and holds back the zombie. And in kind of a cool twist, Yubin blocks the zombie from seeing her, and then the door opens. So the zombie actually gets set on the husband. And they actually end up killing the man and the zombie wife. This attracts all the zombies to their area, and the two start to feel real hopeless. Yubin, even kind of considers, what are we going to do? Like, maybe we should just end it here. But thankfully, they hear helicopters, and they see them too. So they rush up to the rooftop with a horde of zombies in like hot pursuit. They get all the way up to the roof, but there's no more helicopters. They can't see any more helicopters, and the zombies literally surround them. The two of them are at the very edge of the rooftop. And just then, the cavalry rolls through. A helicopter comes up, not from above, but from below the building. So maybe they were, I don't know, doing like a low sweep. But they do have two guys who are very adept with their machine guns, because
Two guys.
they just gun down all the zombies while Juno and Yubin make their way onto the helicopter, and the pair are saved. And we actually find out that they were saving people based on their social media posts. Because people were obviously posting about, where they are and that they're still alive on social media. And we see a cool little, not infographic, but a cool little visual at the end of all the different people who need to be rescued and their posts on social media, because the internet had just come back. And we see kind of a picture of Juno, who at the very start, he had taken a picture of himself with that hashtag, I must stay alive. And we see that hashtag at the very end of the movie, and then it changes to the movie's namesake, hashtag alive. So a happy ending, somewhat. I mean, Juno's family still died, but he made it out. He did stay alive. So let's go ahead right now and talk about the visuals first. Nico, how do you feel about the visuals in this film?
So the one thing that struck me about this was the use of color and just the fact that even though this was a zombie movie, is a zombie movie, it was still really vibrant and colorful and had actual thought put into the composition of each shot, both in terms of the balance of all the elements on screen, as well as just, not being a drab, generic piece of shit zombie flick that everyone's used to at this point.
No, certainly true there. Dan, any take from you on the visuals?
I liked them. I thought the zombies looked really cool. If you've ever seen Train to Busan, the zombies are very similar.
Yes.
They kind of move the same way. They act very similarly. They're basically the same zombies as Train to Busan, but they look great. They were cool. There was a lot of cuts of like where Juno would be filming himself or something. So you see the camera perspective, or like when he's flying the drone, you see everything from the drone's perspective. And sometimes I feel like when movies do that, it can be kind of like cheesy or like over the top or overly done. But I thought it was great this time. They didn't overdo it and they didn't like play it up too much. I thought the visuals were pretty great.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I mean, from my perspective, there's a part where Juno, he puts like tape, he tapes up his balcony window, partly so he can't see what's happening to the outside world. But it looks really cool. It almost looks like stained glass.
Yeah. It is
when the
really
light shines,
pretty.
when the light shines through it. I was also just a really big fan again of, this wasn't like a splatter fest. It wasn't a gore
No.
fest. I wouldn't even consider this to be a very gory movie at all. But I don't know. I felt like there were still very tense, very scary elements in it. But I do think that as well, there's like when bad things happen and the characters have to fight off zombies, I mean, you are actively rooting for them to get past those zombies.
Oh, yeah.
And in terms of audio, I mean, it's funny because the opening song, the first real song you hear in the movie, when Junwoo is playing his game with his friends online, it's so crisp and bright and friendly. And I was
Yeah,
just
right.
like,
Yeah.
oh, this is such a nice, clean song. And then, there's another song that plays later on when he starts drinking. It's more of like a rock song and he's just rocking out. And then the scene immediately shifts and then he's sad. I think the score matched kind of what was happening in the movie. But for more on this, we're going to turn to our resident audio expert. Dan, tell us more.
I mean, I liked it. I think a lot of the music was, what did the caption say? Dark, ominous music? Is that what they said? And there were a couple scenes, like Justin just kind of mentioned, that like utilized actual like songs, but most of the movie was sort of background, dark, ominous music. And it fit very well. The music I never thought was overpowering or overbearing in the movie, but it was more like mood setting music. And I thought it did a really, really good job of that. And then just like the other audio components of the movie, like the ADR, the Foley and all that kind of stuff was very well done as well.
All right, Nico, let me hear a take from you.
So my thought on this just echoes the comparison back to Train to Busan. In that movie, the zombies sounded incredible, and in this movie, they also sound incredible. They are just so fucking freaky. The first one we see, it's like it's having some sort of like mega tetanus spasm, and you hear and see all
Yeah.
these bones breaking, and the way that the zombies move are all kind of like disjointed like that, and you can tell both visually and through the audio there. So it's just really, really well done in this one.
I mean, we'll talk about the zombies a little bit more later, but let's go ahead now and shift gears because this movie, and we're still in this pandemic, we're still social distancing, we still can't see a lot of the people that we want to see. This movie is very relevant to that. Dan, I guess I'm going to lead off with you. I mean, the themes of isolation ring so true in this movie. From, his initial attempts, he just plays video games. That doesn't work anymore. He starts drinking, and just the loneliness. I mean, talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy because looking it up, I think this was filmed near the end of like the last quarter of 2019, so before the pandemic really started and really like hit, and it came out during it. But I mean, it's just like, to me, spot on to what you kind of go through in isolation. Like I think pretty much all of us have experienced at this point. And even like when he discovers that somebody else is out there, and sort of their daily meetups and communicating across the parking lot, just reminds me of like all those videos that you would see during the thick of the pandemic of people in apartment buildings doing the same thing. And not in a zombie apocalypse, but still, like, we can't really leave the house, really, we can't see people, but people post sticky notes up on the walls and on the windows and stuff like that. And to me, it was just very, very relevant to the kind of stuff we're going through right now. And they did a really good job of portraying the progression. Like you said, like, at first you just, oh, I'm gonna just play some video games. And then you get bored, that doesn't work. The power goes out, whatever. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to drink. And then that stops working. And then, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And it's just a very, very relevant progression, I think. And they did it really well.
True. Nico, any thoughts about that?
I just gotta say, like, as someone whose mental health definitely took a turn for just like colossally bad earlier this year at the beginning of the pandemic, like most everybody, this film did a really good job of showing what that was like on a smaller scale, I think. And that was kind of, I don't know, it was refreshing and just a little bit weird to see. Like, when dude was just sitting crying in his empty house with nothing available to really console him around the existential dread and literal dread that surrounds his everyday life. Like, I fucking feel that, man.
Dude, I will say for the listeners of the podcast, some of my friends, including the people on this podcast, before this pandemic ever started, we kind of started to do kind of like a, kind of like a once a week check in, see how everyone's doing, just talk, hang out for a little bit online before the pandemic ever started. And it's crazy because in the same way that the character Junu, when he gets that first bit of human contact, he kind of like, he snaps him back a little bit. It was kind of the same way where I guess because, like me and my friends had started this thing before the pandemic, even during the height of the pandemic, when things were like at their worst, it was like kind of like a little bit of normality, And even in the movie, they do the same thing where they talk about, at one point, like eating ramen and even being able to just talk to somebody about something so simple when you've been so cut off and isolated is extreme. And in the movie, it's a little bit even more extreme than here because he didn't even have social media or internet, which we do. So we at least can talk to each other that way. And, speaking of the internet, social media plays an absolutely huge role in this movie. Dan, what were some of, I guess, the key takeaways from that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, of course, a lot of times we hear about like the negative aspects of social media and
Right.
and mental
Which
health
are
wise and
valid.
everything. Yeah, absolutely. But this is one of those things that's just a reminder, like just how powerful social media can actually be. And like you said in the synopsis at the end, they're going around saving people because of where in the social media post you're tagged at where you're at, so they can find you. And I guess they didn't go too much into this in the movie, but even like feeling connected to the outside world through social media, like they kind of start at the beginning and then, like you said, kind of internet goes out and kind of can't do that. But feeling connected at large is an important part of social media as well, which I know for me, like through this pandemic, has been a big thing too.
Dude, can you imagine if this pandemic had happened in like the fucking 90s or some shit back before we had good internet? Bro, that would have sucked ass.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
So, and technology is also, in addition to social media, technology is a big impact. Junu has a drone, and that shit is key. Like, the drone gets the zip line across to Yubin when she needs it. The drone also, at one point in time, Yubin is attacked by a zombie. The greatest, most athletic zombie ever, by the way.
Right.
Fucking diesel ass zombie. My
Climbing
God.
up the side of a building by a rope. I guess because it was a firefighter in life and it remembered the training. But he uses the drone to like distract the zombie until Yubin can recover. And it's crazy. There's that. There's the modern media with like the news, and he feels hopeless looking at the news, which is insane because that's literally how we all feel looking at the news sometimes. So they got that one spot on. I don't know, man. You know what, guys? I will say this has been so far up to this point kind of a little bit depressing, maybe hitting a little close to home, but we are about to turn it around right here because, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Dan versus Justin survival showdown. Let me give you guys some backstory. Back in the fucking ancient days, Dan and I, when we were both youths, took a fucking test, right? We took multiple tests, actually. It was to determine how well would you survive in these random places, like the fucking Arctic tundra. Who's gonna go there? The fucking, I don't know, why are you laughing, Nico? The woods. Who's gonna survive in the woods? Who's gonna survive under the fucking ocean? I don't know. A fucking fish? But no. Apparently Dan would.
Yep.
And in every one of these
time.
tests, Dan beat me, except for one, which was the tropical rainforest, and realistically, the most likely place he would end up. But
You mad?
I had home field advantage in the rainforest, bro. But we never took one in the city. So if you were in the city, can you guys come up with some skills that you might need to survive in the city when there's a zombie apocalypse going down? What do you think would be the top level skills?
Sneak.
I'll start with you, Nico. Not you, Dan. I'll start with you, Nico. What would you say is probably one of the top level skills?
I would say the ability to move stealthily just because everything is so much more dense. I have a feeling that I just triggered some sort of flashbacks in one of you.
No, Dan just said okay because he literally just said sneak and then you said it again.
Oh, yeah, no. See, what we call that is a pro gamer. No, I'm not gonna.
Is that the only skill set that you can think of? The sneaking around?
I would say foraging and being able to make basic repairs and shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan, any skills you can think of?
Sneaking would be a huge one. And I think, I don't know how to describe this skill, but like critical thinking, maybe? Or like being.
Thinking under pressure?
Yeah. But also like resourcefulness, I guess. Because like how you've been kind of like constructed traps and shit in her apartment. I don't know. I'm blanking on a term to call that, but like
Booby
that.
traps.
Well, yeah, but
Construction?
I mean
Oh,
like, not quite construction, but being able to
premeditated
use
stuff.
use objects in ways that they weren't necessarily
Like
designed
out of the
to.
box thinking.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, I'd say those are two of the big ones.
I would also say another skill that you could, have.
CQC.
Yeah, I was literally gonna say CQC, like close quarters combat, because
Yeah.
like you're gonna have to end up brawling with some zombies eventually. So like your skill at martial arts is gonna help a ton.
You got to bob and weave.
Unfortunately, you
Bob and
can't
weave.
wear a crocodile head as a hat in this one.
Oh,
But like not even that. Also, I kind of feel like being able to self motivate is huge.
Oh, yes,
Because I
yeah.
mean like
Oh my
'cause
god, yeah.
Because Juno, he lasted like fucking 20 something days without any human contact whatsoever, which is impressive to be blunt.
not gonna lie, there's that scene when I think Nico mentioned it before when he just kind of like broke down crying. I think that
Yeah.
was at day like 15 or 20 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Where honestly, if that were me, that would have been day like 4 or 5. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would have kept going, but like I would have had several breakdowns at that point.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So those skills, as well as also, right? I feel like skills at nutrition and health, kind of knowing what foods will keep you going for the longest, how much you can actually eat, how much you absolutely need to drink, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Yu Bin was mad resourceful. When it rained, she had a whole bunch of different buckets and pails outside. And
She
kind
watered
of-
her plants and it was the cutest fucking
Yeah.
thing.
Well, that was the second thing. That was part of the motivation. It was almost kind of like Wilson in Castaway.
Yep,
Like that
yep.
plant, she didn't want that plant to
Yeah.
die. So, and even when she left the apartment, she watered the plant one last time. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so Nico, given all those skills, I need you to play the ultimate
Wait,
warrior
fuck,
here.
what were the skills?
Stealth, combat, resourcefulness,
Okay.
creativity, will to live, and one or two others we'll call the special sauce.
The special sauce.
Who do you think would live?
Is this who do I think would live the longest or who do I think would like do the best?
I think living the longest qualifies as best.
No. Okay, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
You'd be really good. You just die in like a
Take
day,
out
bro.
some zombies for bonus points or something.
I know, right?
Hey man, maybe you gotta
Multiply
really
my score real
rebuild.
quick.
I think I would have to give it to Justin just because it's gotta be harder for Dan to hide. You're so fucking tall.
I'll take that.
Nah.
I'll take that one.
Nah.
I'll take that one. What?
Nah, bro.
No.
I have some ninja ass skills, bro. I can sneak up on people. I do that shit all the time, bro.
Oh, shit.
I was not fucking aware.
All right,
Yeah,
all right.
bro.
But hold up, though. But I could hold off a zombie, though. I could, like,
Yeah,
wrangle
you
a
could.
zombie.
Yeah, you
like,
could. You got me
I
on
could, like,
combat
pelt one
for
away.
sure. Like anything combat related, you got that shit.
But outside of that, I mean, I guess Dan does know a little bit about architecture. And I mean, he got,
What?
he got,
Wow,
he got that on him.
That one skill we didn't talk about.
Special sauce, bro. Architecture. Like,
fair.
Dan could look at a building and be like, I can suspect that the best qualified room in this building is like on the upper left-hand side, east corridor, third floor, and fucking find it, bro. I don't know. I feel like you could do
Yes, this Victorian house will be a good hovel for us.
I mean, I'll take it. I don't believe it, but I'll take it.
I mean, hey, listen, speaking of things you might not believe, would you believe that this is not a remake, but a concurrent make? Is that even a word? It is now.
Concurrent make.
So a little interesting backstory behind this movie, actually. So this was based on a script by a guy called Matt Naylor, and it was initially called Alone. So Matt Naylor worked with the director of this movie to adapt the script to kind of a Korean setting and plot and all that. This movie was released in June in Korea. There's also a movie called Alone, which is based on Matt Naylor's original script, and it was just released on October 16th. So it's very interesting that you have two movies kind of based on the same, pretty much the same script. I'm sure there are some differences between the two, but they're basically based on the same script, and they're coming out so close together.
I think something like that happened with Bird Box too.
Huh. Well, I wasn't familiar with the Bird Box one.
Yeah, I think there is something very similar, I think.
But that's crazy because normally what you see in this kind of scenario is you get a Korean movie that's really good, and then you get an American movie that's essentially watered down. That's
Right.
normally what happens.
It's like an inverse.
Yeah, I don't even know if you could call it an inverse because I mean, technically the Korean one still came out first, but
Yeah,
the
that's true.
idea was from an American script.
Yeah. It's
Although,
it's
yeah.
weird, but it works.
yeah, and it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool that they're both based off of the script and it's not the American one's based off of the Korean one. You know, they're both
Right.
based off the original text or whatever.
The
Justin,
original text.
do you think you could speak to one of the sort of facets of the American influence in the scripts vis-a-vis the, characters and their chemistry together?
Yeah, so this is just my theory here. I could be flat out wrong, right? Because I'd have to see the American movie alone to really confirm this. But in this movie, one thing that does not happen is Yubin and Junwoo, they have a very platonic relationship. The two of them are just happy to be in each other's company because they're another person that's alive and not a zombie. And there's no real, I would say, romance between the two of them.
At all.
And at all. I would guess that I think that's partially, based on the script. I think, especially, in America, I think we've had a lot of discourse and talk about, not in every movie, if there's a guy and a girl, they don't always have to end up together. That doesn't have to happen in every single movie. With that cultural context in mind, I do believe that kind of weighed a little bit on the script and therefore this movie. The idea that you could have, a male and female protagonist and they don't have to wind up with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's fair. But one thing that's certainly not going to be fair, it's time for the what would you do scenario.
Yeah, oof.
So let's say this is kind of like back in the days. So
Those ancient
those ancient days. So the three of us are living in the same apartment complex. We're just living kind of across from each other. So, Nico, you are living to the north. Let's say this is like a three-sided triangular complex. So Nico, you're on side A, I'm on side B,
as
Dan's
opposed
on
to those
side C.
four-sided triangular complexes.
I don't even know what that could be, bro. A four-sided triangle?
A pyramid, maybe? Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
So, in any case, let's say, zombie outbreak happens and we all think each other are dead for the first 10 days. And then, I don't know, then all of a sudden you catch me watering some plants outside in my own little Zen garden, because that's totally what I would do. And then Nico's an asshole and he shines like a flashlight in my eyes. And that lets me know Nico's okay. So let's go ahead and take it from when they all meet up and we get walkie-talkies so we can all talk to each other. After the initial trolling takes place, would you decide to meet up so the three of us would be in one spot? Would that be your moves?
yes, I think so. After, maybe not for the first few days, but after no less than a week. Or no more than a week, rather. I would be like, yo, we gotta squat up.
And Nico, are you the type of person in a zombie outbreak, and this movie was a little more, and we keep bringing up Train to Busan, and I'll maybe talk about it a little at the end, but Train to Busan was, as the title might suggest, on a train. This one was not, it's in a city. So are you more the type of guy to go exploring for supplies? Would we try and sneak around the city to maybe look for guns?
See, here's what would happen. This is in the regular day-to-day normal life that we live, it is a normal occurrence for Dan or Justin to just not hear from me every now and then for just an extended period of time. And when I have these great Odin sleeps, I just I have to reset my body. So that would, I think, carry over into the zombie apocalypse. And I don't think I would even like fucking meet up with y'all.
You just
I
hibernate
think
all
I
the
would
time.
just like straight up fucking forget.
Bro, literally, all right, I meet up with Dan. Dan be like, yo, where's Nico at? Ah, dude, he's
he's
probably in his
asleep.
room. All right, let's go.
He's
Let's go.
probably still sleeping.
So I guess the question though, and I'll pose this to both of you, would you barricade and wait for a potential rescue, or would you go out?
Hell yeah, I'd barricade.
I would barricade. I would have scrounged around for food in nearby apartments more. And I might do like some stuff like that, but I don't think
Yeah.
I would leave my apartment
On some real
complex.
Last of Us type shit.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say the one thing I would do, and this is just me, I would actually, and if I had a squad, I think this would be a lot safer. I would try and kill any zombies on my floor, and I would like then barricade the entrances to my floor.
Secure the floor.
I would try and secure the floor
Secure
because
the block.
well, for me, one thing is if you're
Secure the
quiet
outpost.
enough, if you're quiet enough and you're high up enough, first off, I would want to be like as high up in the building as I possibly could to the roof. Because the roof gives you a whole area where you can grow plants.
So Snoop Dogg would do really well here.
All right, Justin. I see why you won this city showdown here.
I'm saying, like, you
thought
could do
this
a
through.
lot. You could do a lot with the rooftop. So I kind of feel like you would want access to that rooftop. And I mean, even with, like the climbing equipment they had, not like you would ever really want to, but that would be an option as well for you to like rappel across to another building. And that way you could
build some
Just
treetop
flex on some
rooftop shit.
motherfuckers.
Rooftop village.
I mean, yeah, bro, village hidden in the rooftops. Like dead ass, that's what I would do. But no,
Some
that's
Naruto ass shit, bro.
kind of what I was thinking of. Yeah, dead ass. I'd be the Hokage, bro,
Damn.
of this
Gotta
village.
be the no Kage over here.
Oh shit. Well, I don't know anything about that, but
I also don't know anything.
can we
about
talk real
Naruto.
quick? Oh, I know. I could tell you about the Sharingan, bro, but no. So instead of that, I'm gonna tell you your favorite scenes. So let's go ahead and start with you, Nico. What was your favorite scene in this movie?
Damn it! Why did you fuck?
Ah, yeah.
Wait.
Fuck you, Nico. You
Fuck.
fuck you, Nico.
I don't think I'm gonna have the same scene as you.
I think you will.
My favorite scene is the part of the movie where they have run all they thought they could run, and they think the zombies are about to get them. And Yubin hands Jun-woo the gun and says, we're still human right now. And just that, the tension in that scene and going from there to the sheer elation of seeing those helicopters and knowing that there was still a lot more left in the movie was just incredible.
I did like that scene quite a bit because, we had seen before that she had lost hope before. And it was a cool shot because it didn't look like she freed herself. It looked like her attempt failed. So
It was also cool because earlier on, when Jun-woo tries to kill himself, she sort of saves him by showing that
Right.
there's somebody else out there. So now it's not quite tables have turned, but like a little kind of reversal
Gotcha,
Where-
bitch.
where she's like, we should end this while we're still human. And,
It's heartbreaking.
it is. And
'Cause
Jun-woo
they don't
is the
have
one.
any other option at that point.
Right. But Jun-woo is the one who's like kind of stalling and like, no, I don't think we should. But then like as soon as he decides that, okay, well, yes, now the helicopters come and they're saved. But it's almost reversed of what it was before.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it real though. In that moment, I'm saying, like, Nico, if you were like, dude, I'm not gonna be a zombie, just shoot me right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I could do that. Like, I couldn't possibly do that. And honestly, I feel like I would rather get eaten. I get the whole like, yeah, it's better than a death like that. But at the same time, or you know what I would do? I know exactly what I would do.
Oh?
If I was hopeless and there was no way, I would light all the gas stoves. Or I would burn the building down. I would blow that bitch up. I would take as many of them with me as possible. Like,
Straight up.
that's how I would go out. I wouldn't just like do that to myself. I would try my hardest. Like if it's like there's no hope, I'm gonna take out as many of these evil zombies as possible. So hopefully they don't
Get
kill
a
people as
combo
much.
chain going.
Pretty much, yo. But Dan, favorite scenes. Let's talk about yours.
My favorite scene was the ramen scene.
Damn it, that was mine, you little bitch.
I thought Nico was going to say it.
No, I fucking knew it. And Nico, that's why I held back. Nico, I was going to call you a little bitch, but then I realized you weren't the one. You weren't the betrayer.
It was me all along.
It was Dan. It was you all along. So go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so just the scene when after Junu gets like the food and the walkie-talkie, gives it, sends it over to her. They're kind of talking about stuff, and he's talking about how she saved him from, killing himself. And then she's like, "Can we change the subject? Let's talk about anything else." And he's like, "You want to make some ramen?" They're both in their different apartments, and they're making ramen at the same time, and they're talking to each other over the walkie-talkie. And it's just kind of funny because Junu will like say something. He'll be like, "Oh, I love combining this ramen that we've got here with this other ramen." It's a split screen. So you see her, and she is adding his favorite ramen to it. And she kind of stops and she's like, "Oh, yeah, that is pretty good." And then like a minute later, he's like, "Oh, this would be so much better if I had, sesame oil." And like she's pouring sesame oil on hers. And it's just really funny. And it's a really wholesome scene. But it also is like the camaraderie and companionship of just having food with another person, even distantly. Again, kind of going back to how relevant this is to today. Like even just, I live in my own apartment by myself. So like I don't really see a whole lot of people in my day to day. So like even just getting together to do this podcast to me, like such a small thing is such a big thing now. I totally connected with that.
All right. Well, since Dan went ahead and robbed me
Yep.
of that scene, I guess I got to pick a different one now. I'll go for the somber scene. I'll go for the scene where he starts to lose his mind. He's rocking out, he's listening to like rock music and he's turning up and he's, doing whatever. The range of emotions that he shows in that 5 minutes, because
Boy,
I mean,
howdy.
like, yeah, because like this is when he finds out that, the scene where he visualizes and kind of hallucinates his parents and sister coming back home. I feel like anyone who's ever lost somebody has had a similar moment to that, where you just kind of like look at the doorway and you imagine, man, like I wish they would just, it almost feels like they're not gone. Like they're going to walk through that doorway. And then right after that, he hears them die on voicemail. And then right after that,
God, that was so visceral.
yeah, like all this stuff happens. And the movie is like, it has a lot of emotional depth. So, which isn't something I normally say on this podcast.
Right.
But it really
It's
does.
not all sad. Like,
No.
there's comedic moments to it too. And like, it's a light movie, even with how dark it is.
I was going to say
Yeah.
that. I feel like the first half of the movie, or third maybe, gets pretty dark. But after that, like as much as we've talked about it being dark, it's actually like, I wouldn't really consider
Super
it.
fucking charming.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
overall I wouldn't say it's a dark movie. And there's like a lot of maybe not happy, but uplifting, hopeful kind of stuff. And it was almost fun, isn't quite the right word. But
Uplifting?
yeah. Yeah, so I don't
Yeah.
I hope we're not portraying this movie as like super dark, because it's not all
No,
dark.
no. I wasn't trying to. It's just that a lot of the dark
no.
moments are so powerful.
Yeah, very
that-
much. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say as well, since we did talk about a lot of dark moments, I'm going to use my podcast vote to nominate one extra scene. And that's going to be so at night, Juno, he gets Yubin some Nutella and some shit.
That was so fucking cute. Oh
and
my
then
God.
he gives it to her and he's like, "Do you like Nutella?" And then she is like, "Meh." And then he's like, "Why did I even give it to her then?" But he doesn't know how to use a walkie-talkie too good. So she's like, "I can hear you." I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty funny. And also she sends him like cute messages and notes and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, it kind of reminded me of my girlfriend. Like she sends him like this note and it says like, "Don't eat too fast." And I was like, that's pretty cute. So speaking of cute, let's take a look at some of these criticisms that we might have, which aren't cute at all in actuality. So I don't know why I said that. But if you have any criticisms of this movie, speak now. If you ever hold your peace, I'm going to speak right now. I thought this movie was great. The pacing was excellent, with one thing that I'm on the fence about changing. So at the very end, they meet that mysterious guy who tries to feed Yubin to his wife. I didn't know how necessary his character was. I thought that the two of them could have encountered some other struggle. You know what I mean? I maybe thought that the two of them could maybe have found a room, but like in the room, there could have been a zombie. And then that could have attracted a bunch of other zombies to them, putting them in the same scenario they were before for the helicopters to show up. I don't know if I necessarily needed an evil human in this particular kind of movie. That wasn't necessarily something I was looking for. That's probably the only major criticism I have. And it's not even a super big one. It's just potentially I could have seen that not being in the movie. Let's go to you now. Dan, what's your criticism?
I don't really have any, to be honest. Yeah, I don't really have any criticism.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. Nico, how about you, son?
I actually do have one criticism, but it's very minor. There's the scene where I forget which one of them has the gun, but between Junu and Yubin, one of them shoots. Oh no, it's Yubin has the gun and she gives the coup de grace on Lee Sang-chul and his wife. And instantly after that shot, every zombie within the vicinity knew exactly where they were, how to get there, what routes to take to get there. And I thought that was a little contrived. I think they could have gotten away with a lot more than that. But apart from that, I really, really love this movie.
So you think the ending piece where all the zombies immediately rush them, maybe not that many zombies would have been there?
It's not that I don't think as many zombies would have been like in the parking lot by the building or something. It's just I don't think they would have, had the fucking blueprints to like know exactly how
get
and
up
where
there
to
instantly.
Get to, yeah, like
So that was actually my question because they had stairs, but I don't know if zombies would be that good at stairs.
yeah,
Yeah, true.
But no, that was actually one other small minor thing. And Nico, thank you for reminding me that. I mean, I would have thought the zombies would have moved past. If everyone there is dead, go to where, because there are people that are alive. They even said like the metropolitan areas were hit the hardest from this zombie plague.
but like
when we hear
elsewhere's fine.
yeah, where they hear the after action stuff. So I would have thought the zombies would have gone to where there's like more people or started cannibalizing one another because we do see zombies eat other zombies when they're dead.
True.
But if that's the case,
Zombies
there's
are
no-
already dead, but once they've been killed off by the protagonists. But
yes, you're correct there. I guess zombies are already dead.
People die when they are killed.
Call them undead. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point though, by me, of course. So now let's go ahead and look at the critical review for this movie. So this movie has an 86% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics. Unfortunately, the audience didn't seem to like it as much, giving it a 60%.
Yeah, well, they can get fucked.
Yep.
They can get fucked. And I'm going to go ahead and if you guys will please bear with me, quote, once you overcome the 1-inch tall barrier of subtitles, you will be introduced to so many more amazing films.
Agreed.
That's from Bong Joon-ho. He is, of course, the director of Parasite.
That's why I recognize his name. Yeah.
And basically, I think that's part of the reason why this has that 60% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's a subconscious bias at this point. I don't know who did this. But listen, I'm saying this to my fellow Western audience members. Subtitles will not hurt you. Like, it's just a little bit of reading, guys. We can do it. And there are so many good movies out there that you can get exposed to if you just read. Reading is key.
Shout outs to reading, y'all.
Yeah, right.
So let's go ahead now. And, speaking of reading, I'm going to go up with Nico first. Nico, scale of 1 to 100. Where would you rate this movie?
This movie shocked the fuck out of me, considering it was sort of like existing in my mind in the coattails of Train to Busan, as we've talked about previously. And I had, because of that, very high expectations going in. And I cannot tell you how surprised I am that they were met. I'm giving this a 95.
Wow. Nico with the heavy hand here. Dan, what would you give this?
I would give this a 91.
You son of a bitch. Yeah. I also, you know what? I'll give it a 91 as well.
Bonner taking a shower again.
Bonner, what the fuck, Bonner?
Fucking Bonner.
All right, hang on. Bonner, please. God damn, bro.
Hopefully Bonner doesn't
swear
have
to
a
God,
Bonner
I'm so
right
sorry.
now.
All right,
Bonner, please.
All right, I'll go ahead and take mine now.
This movie is too fire, bro.
All right.
And
Dude,
remember,
every
ladies
shower,
and gents,
I swear to fucking
don't
God,
open
dude,
that shower curtain.
every shower that Bonner takes.
This is going in the episode. Straight
Anyhow.
up.
Anyhow, so I would give this movie a 91, and that's because a couple of reasons. First, the emotional depth of this movie hit me a lot harder. This wasn't a generic zombie movie. Honestly, I kind of feel like while it certainly is a zombie movie, the themes of isolation, depression, and all that stuff, I think those were even more prevalent in my mind than the zombies at times.
Yes.
And because of that, and also I did give this movie a little bit of an extra boost because I'm going to be real. We've all just lived and are living through not this scenario, but there's so many parallels.
Less extreme
There-
version of this.
Yeah, there's so many things. Like when I can find myself just so innately relating to this character, and I'll tell
It's
you what,
immersive.
man, if this movie had like killed them off, that would have broke me.
Yeah,
like,
same here.
Yeah.
I would have been so fucked up. I would have showed up to this, hey guys, welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Because like that would have fucked me up, man. Because you know what? And I think why I give this a 91 as well. The theme of this movie, more so than any of the other things I've mentioned, is hope. Keep your head up and things will get better. And that's a message I think we need now more than ever. So damn, I feel like I need to stop there. That can't beat that. But yeah. Oh shit.
Oh,
how the
shit.
fuck do you
How
forget
did
this?
we? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I
We
do
all
have one
just
last thing to say. Would you recommend this to a friend? 1, 2, 3.
Yup.
Yes.
Golden seal of approval? Yes.
Yup.
Yes.
This movie gets the golden seal of fucking approval. Did you think otherwise based on everything else we just said? So, yeah. If you like what you've heard and you weren't thoroughly depressed by our introduction, plot synopsis and just general discussion of the rather dark parts in this movie, give us a follow on social media. This movie's all about social media, right? So we're on Twitter and Instagram at DOTD Horror, and we're on Facebook, Don't Open That Door. That's been it from Nico, Dan, and Jess. And, take care of yourselves. And if you do need to reach out to, even if you want to just drop a message and talk about some dumb horror movies, we're here for that. So please, like we said before, take care of yourselves. Ladies and gents, have a great night. Please don't open that door, though. Bye.